Hi, Trevor here, reflecting on life through music. Thank you for stopping by. Well, come in today, you're very, very welcome. I trust you enjoyed my last video on John Parr. He had some pretty big soundtrack hits in the 1980s, including St. Elmo's Fire, Being a Man and Woman in Motion. Trust you found that one encouraging. We're going from there to 1950 in Bridgeton in Scotland, but the family would emigrate on the SS Canberra and settle in Sydney in 1962. So in his teenage years, he sort of attended school in Sydney, and he became an apprentice sheet metal worker. But while he was in high school, he actually formed the band Elm Tree, and this is very much his start in music. And Elm Tree just kind of got a little bit of following until this guy was noticed and took on as manager from Dan Miles. The guy we're talking about is John Paul Young. Now, John Paul Young is Australian music royalty, and we'll get onto the song that you've got to talk about. I want to talk about him in a minute. Dan actually signed him up with the JC Revolution, and there was a bit of the Jesus Christ Revolution, I should say. That was a 6-week kind of production, and followed was Jesus Christ Superstar Australian production of this one. Now, this was absolutely a massive musical written by Andrew Lloyd Webber back in the 1970s, and the cream of Australian music talent was in this musical, including John Paul Young. In fact, John Paul Young was actually in the show from 1972 to 1974. It's around that time that he met Vanda Young. Now, Vanda Young are music production royalty, and they had a lot to do with this guy in particular, and the song that we're going to talk about, which was massive all around the world. Of course, the Young family is famous for Australian music. Angus Young, of course, part of AC/DC, and the Young family well and truly part of the Australian music psyche. But after the Easy Beats finished, Vanda and Young got together and actually started to do behind the scenes music, and they really pretty well started a partnership with John Paul Young and wrote some of his massive hits, including the single Pasadena. This came out around this time. This is a single, got to number 16 in the Australian charts, and we've got a bit of a studio version of that one below, and you can see already that disco is just about to start in Australia, and John Paul Young was just about to start riding on a crest of a wave. In 1975, Yesterday's Hero was released, and this was a massive song, number 8 in Australia, number 44 in the United States. I've got both an official clip and a live version of that one below. The live version is going all the way forward to the Countdown reunion of 2006. Now, you cannot talk about John Paul Young without talking about Countdown. Countdown started off just this little kind of thing that Molly Meldrum started, and all the way through to 1987 when Countdown actually finished. If you weren't on Countdown as an artist, there was something wrong, and many of the international artists that came to Australia got more tickets sold because of Countdown. And so John Paul Young and Countdown are kind of inseparable in many ways. And of course, Yesterday's Hero, the official clip of this one, actually was perfect for the Countdown format and did get played many times on the Countdown show. Yesterday's Hero, I think Vanda and Young were looking at their earlier years, particularly as part of the Easy Beats, and thinking, yeah, whatever. And just looking back reflectively at that time, because Easy Beats and Friday on My Mind was an absolutely massive song, but they had to move on to something else. So both Pasadena and Yesterday's Heroes came off that Hero album. 1976, out came JPY. This is another way that John Paul Young would be known by. JPY couple of songs of that one. We've got I Hate the Music because I'm not doing it with you. That's why we've got a TV version of that one. I thought we'd better get a countdown clip in there, just for those of us who can remember Countdown with fondness. It was just one of those shows that that really took Australia over. And I want to do it with you. Official clip on that one, no shortage, nothing. We know exactly what that one's about. But the world actually was about to change in 1978. Vanda and Young classic Love Is in the Air. I can feel it in the wind, I can feel it in the breeze, I can feel it in my heart, I can feel it in my life, I can just feel it everywhere. Love is in the air. This song was massive, number 3 in Australia, number 7 in the US, and number 5 in the UK. This was an absolutely massive worldwide hit. And we can sort of see already the way that the John Paul Young sound is produced, lots of keyboardy, magical stuff happening behind the scenes, just really, really brings this song to life. Now, Vanda and Young knew that they had a hit on their hands with this song, and so they really didn't skimp on production at all. We've got orchestra and all sorts of things going on behind the scenes. Love Is in the Air. Well, do you feel it? You know, we look at the wind. The wind's blowing trees. Can we actually see the wind itself? No, we can't. Love's a bit the same. We see the effect of love. We see how people will come heroic for love. We see how someone will become more caring for love. We hear someone will become more passionate for love. Someone who was basically a rock and now they're loved by someone. Love has just got this absolute power to do these sort of things. But it's not power in a powerful way. It's power in a gentle and kind but persistent way. And when love is actually in there, it's an absolutely beautiful thing, isn't it? And, you know, I've always likened love to be an external force. It's something that we do not have control over, I don't think. You know, 1 minute we're not in love and the next minute we are. How do we get from one to the other? Well, we don't know. One thing that's probably good to do at the start of a relationship, obviously we're not going to say I love you at the start, are we? But, you know, get love in there. Love is patient and kind. Just remember those two words, patience and kindness. And so if you can establish a culture of love at the start, well, and then get out of the way and let love do its thing. Because you know what, if love is patient and kind, why wouldn't we want that in our relationships? Absolutely. Relationships are not power, one over the other. Relationship is not about, you know, one following the other person around. Love is a partnership. Love is patient and kind. And, you know, when life can be challenging, you know, we need something to rise up and make us better and make us stronger. And when you have the love of somebody else as well as you loving somebody else and you are in love, the concept of in love with someone is quite true, I think. You know, we're in this thing called love because love is patient and kind. And, you know, we kind of got to, you know, what do we need to do? We need to just give up. Let it happen. Get rid of misconceptions. Get rid of trying to get power over somebody else. Just give it up and let love do its thing. And I think Love Is in the Air absolutely is a beautiful way, a beautiful take on what love is. Love is just an all-encompassing, all-powerful, but all-gentle force of nature. And we're just so great that love is in this world. So we've got 3 clips below. We've got a studio version, we've got a live version, and we've also got a clip from Strictly Ballroom. Now, this is an Australian dance classic. Now, we're at the end of this movie and it's all kind of fallen apart. We've got Steeped in Tradition Dance Federation. We've got steps that have been banned. We've got a dad and a mum who tried it when they were 20 years younger and it all fell apart for them. It's good to see those two back on the dance floor as well. And there's just a really, really compelling clip here of what you can do when your heart is in the right place and you don't care what other people think. You just think the time is right for something new. And so we've got the last 8 minutes of Strictly Ballroom. Of course, it finishes with Love Is in the Air. Everybody gets on the dance floor, and that's an absolutely beautiful time. So it's cool you've got to get that version in there as well. It's amazing what movie clips you think of when you think of some of these songs. Love is in the Air is just one of these songs that people just get happy and are so glad to hear. Of course, John Paul Young too, with his voice, the way his voice is, the strength, his good looks, he's just the guy that sing this one too. And it really, he just really brought this song to life in many, many ways. And here in Australia, we're absolutely glad that he did. In fact, he came back in the 2000 Olympic Games in Sydney and sang it there. In 2009, he was inducted into the ARIA Hall of Fame, which is pretty cool. 2012, he received the Order of Australia, which is just contribution to music. Between 1975 and 2006, 9 studio albums, 9 compilation albums, 1 EP and 37 singles. 4 albums have gone platinum and 9 singles went gold. So in the scheme of things, pretty successful. In fact, John Paul Young sold around 4 million albums in Australia, which is pretty good indeed. So it's great to give this, I suppose, as OAM ARIA Hall of Famer the credit he deserves today. I was really looking forward to doing this one, and we finally got here. So it's great to give John Paul Young, born in Scotland but loved by Australia, in many ways. And so it's great to give him a bit of a go today. So the 8 clips are in the description below, and I also included my last video from John Parr. If you want to recap on him, feel free. Well, if this is your first time, the Life Reflections through Music, or you've come back for another one, how great to see you all here. Well, that's it for today. Next time we're going to get on to a guy that became quite big when he took over the lead singer of Petra, John Schlitt. And he's also had a bit of a solo career as well, done a few other things, bits and pieces. So I thought we better need to give this guy a bit of a go as well. So that's where we're headed next time. So until then, I'll catch you around. Bye for now.